welcome back. Sorry there hasn't been a video for a little while, but during the meanwhilest I was getting on with Victoria, the automaton's voice, and just getting that sorted out on the teensy, and then someone very kindly asked me whether I still had any Nempnett Thrubwells to sell on Etsy. I said, what? And I looked it up and it said I'd run out. Luckily I had 2 left, so I put them on and updated it and they promptly sold out. But that made me realise after that I had none left. So this last week I have very quickly put together another 10. So exciting, one of which I've already sold the very next day. It is brilliant, there's so much interest in it. Interestingly enough, I thought because I wanted to get it done that I would not video it, because I subsequently realised just how much time it adds. It adds days and days on to any sort of making, which is fine for some things. As it was, it took me 5 days, full on every day, to get all the bits cut, made, manufactured, ordered in, and then assembled into the kits. And I think that would have doubled at least if I'd made a video of it, and I've made videos of it anywhere in the past. So, what I'm doing now, another project to avoid getting on with Victoria, lots and lots of people have asked me if I sell another kit, an alternative to the Nempnett Thrubwell, because they made one of those and they really want to make something else. And I was thinking about it, I thought, well, I've got the Chronograph, can't remember the name, and I'm staring straight at 2 renditions of it being engraved as we speak from some lovely laser ply. And I got to thinking, and I realised, actually having made 10 more of these fairly recently, that it would make a very good kit, I think. As with anything, a new product or whatever, you're never quite sure how it's going to be received. So I've decided to make 2 more, number 22 and number 23. I'm going to put one together myself and photograph the whole process to make some instructions. And then some lucky viewer or purchaser or someone is going to hopefully purchase the first one. I'll set up something so that people know that it's a trial and I haven't got dozens of them, but I'll see how it goes, and then I'll make the first few as and when I receive any orders. Don't know whether I will or not. Again, one of those things. So I'll end up with one that I've put together, number 22. And I've ironed out any wrinkles and sorted out in terms of how people would put it together as a kit. It's very different from how I put them together. It'll be far less mess for a start. And then I'll have number 23 to sell as the first kit. How exciting, and we'll see how that goes. Like I say, I've had probably 10-15 requests from people asking if I'd got any plans to come up with another kit because they so enjoyed the Nempnett Thrubwell. So, give this a go. Now, very exciting. I do love laser ply. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that I started with some other general purpose 3mm ply which didn't cut nicely at all. Horrible stuff, because it was inconsistent, whereas discovered that laser ply is made of much higher quality wood, much more constructed in a much more predictable way. Here we are. Look at that. Oh, the laser cutter, I'll tell you, don't get me started. It is brilliant. And these funny shaped joints, the corner joints, they just, look at that. I mean, that's a joy. Look at that. You don't need any glue. Perfectly 90 degrees. Oh, I remember how much I enjoyed putting the last 10 together, and I thought this could make a really nice kit. So we will try it and see. There's one of the special parts that I haven't got any use for, so I put them all in the special part heaven bin. I'll try and keep the two sets separately just to make sure that everything does fit. That's the thing about designing kits. If I put something together in the workshop, if something goes wrong or I realise I've made a mistake, I can very easily rectify it. But once it's sitting in the privacy of someone's living room and they're trying to put it together and getting extremely frustrated because it doesn't fit, obviously that's no good. And that's another reason for using an existing product to base the kit on, because designing something like this, or the Nempnett Thrubwell, it takes months and months and months. And at some point I do want to get on with Victoria. Poor Victoria, she'll have to wait a little bit longer. Here's what I'm talking about, the chronograph. This one is standing on one of these fine freestanding supports which I recently made with a lovely felt base on it, which worked a treat. Again, perfectly cut by the laser cutter. As you can see with the chronograph, each one is individually numbered. This is number 1, the original one, which, as with all my other machines, I keep the originals working to check for any problems, and there haven't been any, I'm pleased to say. You read the minutes of this dial and the hours of this dial, so it's turned by the clock mechanism, which is great. And there's another gear that turns there as well. It's got a sort of moving escapement at the top, nice little bit of brass chain, ball chain. What looks to be, I'll zoom in a little bit, get a bit closer. What looks to be a coil spring with a copper front bit, another bit of gear sticking out there, some gears cut out that you can just see through the hole in the middle. It's got the de facto coiled copper pipe. The appearance of it is actually real copper. A coil that you have to have, every self-respecting steampunk machine should have, and an expansion cylinder which looks strangely like one of those nitrous oxide bottles painted copper. So that's what it consists of. This was the first one which I've changed subsequently and improved these bits. Basically they're now funny shapes like that, because it means I can use less wood, more effective and efficient. These bits stuck out too big for the bed of the laser, so I ended up having to cut it out of more than one piece of wood. So that's what we're talking about. I'm really pleased with this design. It took, as with everything I do, it got completely overcomplicated. It started as a nice simple clock. Didn't end up like that. It ended up as a quite complicated clock, but I really love all the different views you can get. I think it's, even though I say so myself, I think it's quite a beautiful thing. Wherever you look at it, you get new views that are just as interesting, and I love the balance. Again, classic steampunk machine, you've got the brass colour, the engravings against the wooden, dark wooden background. It's just a gorgeous thing, and of course the little red detail there, like all my machines have. And at the bottom, the pendulum, I wanted to go for something special, so this was a copy of a mercury compensated pendulum, which is a very, very clever design. It meant that prior to the invention of the mercury compensated pendulum, in hot weather the pendulum grows longer and therefore time slows down because the pendulum's swing takes longer, and in cold weather it shrinks, contracts, and it speeds up. And that was a really big problem by several minutes each day. I seem to remember reading somewhere someone came up with the idea, if you put a tube of mercury in the centre, mercury is a very heavy metal, so as the temperature rises the pendulum tries to expand, or does expand, but so does the mercury back up the glass tube, so it compensates and cancels itself out. And the same with contraction in cold weather. Very clever idea. Again, it was quite complicated to work out how to make this, but having sorted it out, I think it will bring joy, hopefully, to the lives of other people who would like to make their own one. And I will continue numbering them as well, so that's what I'm talking about. While I'm wittering on, as I'll mention the Kraken project, which is ongoing for about a year and a half. Here's another one I printed earlier, just to make sure I had solved the original problem about the legs not printing properly by having a smaller, more detailed scaffolding, and sure enough it works beautifully. I've got to get photographs of that and try and get it on the website. And here are all the other ones I've made. This one was the one that can fit on the front of a pair of those standard steampunk goggles, done in white plastic so that you can decorate it yourself. Or there's the one in the metallic copper, which looks really good. I even got as far as ordering the eyes, the beads that would fit, so people can choose whether they'd like to have a sort of pearlescent eye, pearl colour, or a black eye, depending on your preference. Yeah, so this was one that broke, or actually that was an experiment to see whether I could print all the little tentacles separately and then stick them on. It's ridiculous. But I'd love to see that one flat. I have got a flat one. That was the first one, which was very exciting. So there's a small version or a slightly larger version that can be stuck on some sort of product or invention. But these, yeah, these ones look really nice. I'm very pleased with those ones. Anyway, I need to get on with that as well as everything else. Watch the website and see whether I can add that at some point. I get half a minute. Fabulous. So, another thing for the exciting box. So I finished cutting out all the parts and making them. We've got the wooden parts that I showed you yesterday, which need to be stained and glued together, or glued together and stained. There's the copper coil, which I would wind on my jig. The clock movement with a pendulum. The nitrous oxide bottle that will need to be painted, an assortment of fixings, brass screws, nuts and bolts and rivets and things like that. Then we come to the plastic components. So we've got the engravings. I'd really like your thoughts on several points concerning the development of the kit, how I do it. When these are first cut, engraved on the laser, you get little bits of soot, and I'm trying to find a chemical. At the moment I clean them off with isopropyl alcohol, tape head cleaner in effect, for those of you old enough to remember tapes. But it would be really nice and allow me to keep costs down, because it's quite a fiddly, time consuming process cleaning all the soot off all the different numbers. If that could be part of the kit. Now I can't send explosive or flammable liquids in the post, so it would have to be something that people could get hold of themselves. White spirit does work as well, so I'd be interested if you think, you know, because this kit, the Nempnett Thrubwell, you get everything you need. You don't need any special skills or tools, equipment, anything. Whereas this kit, I'm erring on the side of making far more challenging. So I'll provide you with all the bits that you need, but then, you know, you're going to need to paint things and possibly clean things. Anyway, I'd like to know what you think. So there's all the plastic parts. Then we've got the 10mm acrylic cut parts, so you've got bits like this. Now again, I'd like to know your thoughts on this. These I sand down all these bits and pieces, and, well, I'll tap the holes in them, but I sand down the sides and everything else. Perhaps people would prefer to be given a piece of good quality abrasive paper, and then they can sand it down without any special machine tools, because it is quite a satisfying thing to do. Getting a lovely finish on things like acrylic. Again, like to know your thoughts. There's the 3mm section, and what made me think about doing this kit was when I was putting together the hour indicator dial. I was enjoying it so much because these locate in the engraved recess that the laser's cut, and then you just turn it over and drip 3 drips of super glue on the back, and it soaks around and sticks it. It's a really enjoyable thing to do, and like I say, that's what, putting that together and thinking, you know what, I think people would really like to have a go at that. I'm really enjoying it, so hopefully they would. And then there's finally the 2mm section, so that's the main clock parts. I should zoom out a little bit. The main sort of sheet, the panels, if you like. So there's the front one behind. Then there's the spring, which needs to be painted black or something, and some gears and other bits and pieces. Now I think, because this is the sort of the pitch I'm aiming this kit at, that I would supply all the pieces plain, and then the person assembling it would spray everything up. It's not a big deal. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to include spray paint because it's one of the banned substances you can't send through the post. But that's no bad thing, because it'll allow me to keep the cost of the kit lower, because you can buy metallic brass spray paint all over the place, even small cans which you'd need for this kit. Same with copper spray paint and black spray paint and whatever else. So yeah, I would love to know any thoughts you may have on this. I'm not going to do anything else to the kit until I get a bit of feedback. There's no point in me going off on a tangent and then people saying, oh no, we don't want that. If only you decided to do it like this. So I'd love some input. Please let me know your thoughts, any thoughts you have on this kit. How complicated you'd like to see it, what sort of things you'd like to see done first by me and supplied and things like that. Thank you very much. Whilst I'm waiting to hear back from you kind people, I think I'm going to start working on Victoria, the Automaton's Victorian Gothic cabinet and stops, organ stops. Really exciting. Thanks very much for watching. I'll put links to my website and Etsy shop in the description. Hope to hear from you soon.